The 2026 vendor market calendar is already open and applications are live. But before you apply to anything this year, let's talk about a couple of things that I feel like you should be aware of. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Pakita, and on this channel, I talk a lot about how to grow your business with vendor markets or pop-up markets. And I share a lot of my experiences and my perspectives from how to use the vendor market scene to really grow and develop yourself as a business owner. And so if you're interested in that kind of content, stick around, because today I want to talk about my top 3 red flags that you should be aware of before you even fill out a vendor application. So I'm not even putting them in any particular order or ranking because I feel like I've experienced them. You can experience these kind of anywhere in that initial engagement process. So the first one I'll talk about is poor communication. Poor communication is a huge red flag, especially if you are trying to get information about the application, about the venue, or get some information about say previous markets that this particular host has put on. You want to know about, the types of vendors that they are trying to, include in the market. Maybe some customer demographics. You want to know about the location itself, like, is there parking? Is there paid parking? Is it free parking? Is it on-site parking? What's their restroom situation? If you've been on this page any amount of time, if you've looked at any of my videos, that's a big thing for me. I don't have a problem with outdoor restrooms like restroom trailers or porta potties, things like that. I just want to know. I don't want to be surprised when I show up and you're like, bathroom is over there behind that tree. What? We paid. Why is it over there? I just want to know. I just want to know in advance kind of what to expect and how to prepare. Anytime I'm reaching out to you as the event planner, as the host, and I have questions about anything, even if I have a question about something on your application, my expectation is that at a minimum of 24 hours, you should get back to me. 24 to 48 hours. 48 hours like max. Like, I feel like that is fully gracious to have that expectation that you respond to me. I have had newer hosts, newer event planners, and by newer, they are new to me. They're new to the area. If I reach out to like a fellow vendor and I'm like, hey, are you familiar with them? Have you heard of them? And the vendor's like, no. So if I'm asking to try and get more familiar with you and your organization and the events that you plan, and either you don't want to respond, you claim you never saw my message, I feel like it's on you. Everybody knows at this point in our lives, check your spam folders. If for some reason a message didn't come through and it's in spam and you don't check, I'm looking at you kind of sideways. But either you don't respond timely, or you respond in a way that tells me that you really don't want to share information with me. Those are definite red flags. I have had a host, the location was not included on kind of the flyers and like their marketing information. So they reached out to me to be a part of their market. But then when I responded to them and asked like, well, where is this going to be? I looked on your page. None of your stuff seems local to, Charlotte Metro. None of it really seems North Carolina at all. So where is it exactly that you're hosting the event? Their response to me was, we'll let you know in the application. Or once you fill out the application and you're approved, we'll let you know the location. We not doing those secret pop-ups. Like, what is that all about? Why can't you tell me where it is? That's a huge red flag. So when the host does not want to share information about their market, does not want to give you any follow-up feedback on, who's coming, the demographics, location, facilities, whatever your questions are, when they feel like they can't answer you or they're really slow to answer you, consider that as a red flag of things to come. So my next one is organization. Now, I will be honest and say that you may not know during the initial engagement process how organized or disorganized a host is or an event is going to be, but you will definitely find that out early in your market process. Once you've gotten accepted, and you're waiting for things like load-in instructions, check-in times, and things like that. When you're waiting for that critical information to come in and it's delayed or it doesn't show up until an hour before the start of the market, or when you actually arrive to the market, there's no check-in process. There's nobody there to kind of guide vendors to their spacing or things like that. Red flag. Unfortunately, with this particular red flag, you're already there. You've already paid the fee, and usually you're already on site. So you kind of have to make that decision in the moment. Am I going to stay and see what the rest of the day looks like, or am I just going to cut my losses and leave? I don't really have an answer, right? I have a video on my page, and I will link it somewhere. We arrived to an event, and these flags started showing up after the application process. The communication was slow. I won't say it was sketchy, but it was certainly slow. We did get load in maybe like 2 days before the event. Normally load in will come like the Monday or the Tuesday before the event. This was like 2 days, so it wasn't too like off-putting or anything. But once we arrived, there were like the first couple of hours of when we should have been loading in that there was nobody there from the event. And there was no instructions given to us. Like, we had other vendors asking each other, like, what are we supposed to do? Have you ever, worked with this host before? Like, are you familiar with this space? It was just, there was nothing. And clearly, this organization did not market this event because no one showed up. And by no one, I mean no one. Now, granted, I know there is, I've seen a couple of posts on Instagram, the discourse of marketing should be both the vendor and the host. And that's wonderful. And it should be, right? However, customers are not necessarily going to follow you to locations that are unfamiliar to them. Your customers will typically follow you to venues and events that they met you. If it's going to be local, they will certainly follow you to other local events. If those events are events in areas, parts of town, different themes that they're interested in participating in, right? Like, they want to come and shop, at this market because this is something that, they're interested in. But that is not really how it works. And I always find it interesting when event planners say, it's also the responsibility of the vendor to invite their customers. That is true. I am going to share with my network and with my email list and with my customers, this is where I'll be, come shop, blah, blah, blah. But depending on where it is, you are only going to come and support me where you met me. I hope that makes sense. Your customers are not always likely to follow you all over the city, all over the state, wherever you're going. That's just it's not feasible. People don't do that. You're going to go to these markets in these areas. The host should have made sure that the money that they say goes to marketing really goes to marketing. And marketing in that space. Like if it's a new space for the host, it's going to be a new space for us too, right? So I always feel like when it comes to attracting an audience to a market, I feel like event planners place an undue amount of responsibility on the vendor, especially when they say that your vendor fee went to marketing. If the vendor fee went to the marketing, what? Anyway, honestly, I feel like that could be its own red flag, the whole vendor fee and marketing conversation. But I didn't include that in this list. I didn't include it as a red flag because I feel like there is some value to the vendor fees being applied to marketing when it's done right. I work with a particular host and they do it right all the time. They are always spot on with this money went to this thing and this is the outcome. But so poor communication is my first one. Organization is the second one. When we arrive, we should know, are there assigned spaces? Where do I set up? Where do I load? Where do I unload? Give me the lay of the land. Where are the things that I need to be aware of? Who's on point for emergencies? Who do I talk to? Who is responsible for the space the same day? All of those things. Where's parking? Give me all of the logistics. Somebody should be there with that information. And so when I show up as a vendor who paid to be in this event, and there's no one from the event that can tell me that is a red flag. That is a problem. And I will never work with you again. Okay, so my third one is, I'm going to call it hyping up the wrong things. And by that, I mean, again, if you've seen any of my videos, heard me talk about this to any extent, hyping up things like foot traffic, hyping up things like there's a festival that is a mile up the road. There's a circus happening 10 blocks away. There is something unrelated to this market that's happening in the area. And so that should tell me as the vendor that means automatic sales. Y'all, let me tell you, that is no, absolutely no. Just because there is an event and you set up a vendor market adjacent to the event, if people are en route to the event and they have to walk by your vendor market on their way to another thing that they paid for, that they planned their day around, and you are just kind of an ancillary detail on the way to that thing, they're not stopping and shopping on their way to something. And this is why. If I'm going to a concert, I can't show up at the concert with shopping bags. If I'm going to a festival, I can probably have some kind of clear bag with me, but it can't be full of other stuff. I can't take outside food and drink into another thing. So you being on the way, like people have to walk from the parking lot and then walk past. They're literally just walking past. And then if you're still there after their thing is over, people are exhausted and they are likely not going to stop and shop. And people are going to look and you're going to get the oohs and ahs, but people are not like spending money with you. I think that the one thing I do not like, and I have learned from doing this and then trying and saying I'll do it again and then doing it again and still having the same result, is participating in markets that try to attach themselves to the hype or the fame of something that is already existing and already established. Again, if there is a festival, if there is a concert or a carnival or something like that that's already scheduled, people had to buy tickets to go to that thing, and there are crowds that are going to be there. If it's a baseball game, if it's a football game, you setting up your market outside of that space, it is not going to equate sales for the vendors that are there, simply because people have already made up their mind to go to those other events, right? And you can't shop with me and take the item that you purchased from me into the other venue that you are paying to attend. And then people are really not going to go, oh, let me buy this and then I'm going to run back to my car. Because if the parking, the event that we're at probably didn't have parking, right? So the venue that they're going to also probably doesn't have parking. So you're probably walking a ways to get from your vehicle, to get from your public transport or whatever to the venue. So you're going to, if it sounds chaotic, that's because it is chaotic. And more than likely, that's not going to happen. You're not taking packages into a sporting event. You're not taking packages into a concert. You're not taking packages into like an amusement type function. Like, you're not going to be able to take packages into another thing. And if you've already paid for something, you want to be on time. You're not trying to stop, lollygag at. So telling vendors that the vendor fee is X amount of dollars, and what you'll get is, we anticipate 10,000 in foot traffic. Foot traffic does not equate to sales. Foot traffic is a buzzword that is typically used by a lot of event planners, unfortunately. But you really need to be able to read between the lines. Like, what does foot traffic mean? And in that foot traffic, is that even a demographic that's going to spend money with me? And in that foot traffic, how many of those people do you anticipate to stop and shop? Within that foot traffic, have you done this event previously? And so you know that within that number, that 10,000 number, out of that number, how many customers on average did you actually see at your market? I would put $5 on the table to tell you it's probably zero. You're probably not seeing anybody stop through on their way to another event and decide that they're going to shop at a vendor market because it was on the way to something. So foot traffic is just, to me, foot traffic is probably my number one red flag. If you're trying to promote your event, and if you're a host and you come by this video and you are wanting to promote your event, do not hype up things that don't matter. Foot traffic, the fact that there are other events in the area, that has nothing to do, to me, that is it's a roll of the dice. So it's something that you don't control as the host. So why are you even mentioning that as if there's going to be some added value for the vendor? And then as a vendor, as a small business owner, that is something, the language in which a lot of event planners use to promote their events, you have to be able to dissect what is pure marketing, what is pure, like, this is my hustle, what is things that I want to kind of dangle before you as the shiny, pretty thing, versus things that are actually going to be tangible and have some real value for you and for your business and for your time. Because again, vendor markets are like a minimum 4 hours, right? There are some events that are just all day events, so in 8 hours outside in the elements based off foot traffic. It's sketch. It is sketch. So just be aware of the language in which a lot of markets are used to promote to you. I feel like sometimes event planners assume that because you are a small business owner, that you are desperate to get customers. And the reason that a lot of people use vendor markets, and yes, some are very new to the process, but others have a thriving community. Online or word of mouth, and they just want to expand their footprint, and vendor markets is a great way to do that. Pop-up markets, farmers markets is a great way to do that. But trying to sell an event based on things that don't matter is a definite red flag, especially in my book. All right, and so I do have an honorable mention. I do have a number 4. And I have talked about this at length. We know that vendor market fees are non-refundable, and most markets are rain or shine. However, it is a huge red flag to me when an event planner says that an event is non-refundable, it is rain or shine, and you have not planned for inclement weather. At certain times of the year, you can anticipate, especially depending on where you live in our country, weather conditions can be really crazy or really crazy. And so even if and I've done markets in the rain, and we've had great sales days on rainy days. But if you have to cancel a market because tornado warning or severe thunderstorm or something like that, and you can control. Now, this is not when you are maybe hosting your event at a facility where you have to book them out. But if you can control rescheduling your market or providing a rain date, then you 100% should. And the reason why is because it really positions you as an event planner that is concerned about the vendor markets and the health and wellness of the market as a whole. You just saying that, it's rain or shine and a whole neighborhood just got leveled by a tornado. I'm sorry, we can't do nothing about that. It's giving you don't care. And if you're presenting yourself that way, then to me, it tells me that it's just about the dollars and cents for you, and you really don't care about the community that you claim to support. And let us be 100%. The small business community is a community. It's a subset of our economy. So you hosting these events is really so that the community and the small creator can find a venue to be able to come together. So if you're just saying that it's rain or shine and I'm not providing a rain date. And yes, you don't have to. You don't have to because it's in the application. So we know in advance. But when you are completely closed off to that, having that as an option, it's just a red flag to me. I have worked with a number of hosts that bad weather days, and they're very prepared, right? Like they're watching the same weather forecast that you are. So they will let you know in advance that the event is not only canceled, but we're looking for another day to reschedule. Stay tuned. And then they alert their social media, their email list, their communities, etc., etc., etc. So it is possible. It is very possible. Usually the hosts that I have found that do not do that are kind of those hosts that just, show up in different locations and they want to set up an event and then they pull out of town. I don't do business with those either. Those events that kind of roll through town and they're new to everybody, no one's ever worked with them, but they're reaching out to everybody. Like those events are kind of weird. I feel like they're kind of like the circus that comes into town and then like we do 2 days and then we're out. And then if stuff happens, like you don't have anybody to hold accountable because So, if the event is not mindful of like weather conditions or inclement weather specifically, because like just a rainy day without thunder and blah blah blah, and then the sun comes out again, that's not what I'm talking about. Usually those are rain or shine events, but I'm talking about events where the weather is really kind of impossible. Like this weekend is projected an ice storm. If there was an event this weekend, to me, this is an opportunity for a host to see the weather and say, hey, given the weather forecast, we're not going to have the event this weekend. We've got two dates that we could kind of reschedule. This date or this date, let us know which date is your preferred. Based on the responses, we're going to reschedule to one of the two dates. To me, that is the responsible approach to the whole rain or shine concept. But if you are an event planner and you are just completely opposed to providing rain dates, to me that's a red flag, because why? It's not hurting you and you can control the outcome. So why wouldn't you do it? So that is it. My top 3 and then my 4th as an honorable mention. Pay attention to kind of the communication style of the host that you are doing the market with. What is, how organized are they? Are they organized? Do you have all the information that you need going to the venue on the day of the market? Is it coming like a couple of hours before? Is it coming a couple of days before? Like, do you have direct, whatever it is that you need, are they providing it? And then, are they hyping up stuff that really doesn't matter? Are they spending a lot of time using language that really has no value to you on the day of the actual market? And then my honorable mention is, do they even plan for inclement weather, bad weather dates? Like, are they giving you options, or are they just completely opposed to doing anything that could be helpful and really set them up as caring about the vendors and the small business community that they claim to support? So let me know in the comments if you've run into any of these experiences, any of these flag traits, if you will, getting ready for markets. Or let me know if there are some other red flags that you have that I just did not list. Because like I said, I do have a couple. But these, I feel like, will really set the tone in that early engagement phase of you applying and getting accepted or doing your research. These will really be there right front and center and be very telling about the host that you are getting ready to do business with. So if you watched the video all the way to the end, shout out to you. Thank you so much. Drop me a note in the comment again and let me know, if you've had any experience with any of these red flags, or if you've got other red flags that you think we need to know about. And if you stayed to the end of this video and you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You clearly like me and we should be friends. All right, share the video, like it, make sure you turn on your notifications so you get an alert when I drop some new content. And that's all for now. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.